Right now, the collagen industry is selling you a $60 powder that your digestive system breaks down long before its components ever reach your skin. But 5 forgotten plants do what those powders never could, and one of them was banned by a federal agency while another has existed since before the dinosaurs. And by the end of this video, you will know all 5, how they work together as one system, and how to grow them on your windowsill for free. Picture yourself standing in the supplement aisle of any pharmacy tonight. Floor to ceiling, you see rows of sleek packaging, collagen powders in white containers with pictures of smooth, glowing skin, peptide blends promising to turn back the clock, biotin capsules, hyaluronic acid tablets. This single aisle generates billions of dollars every year. The global collagen supplement market alone has crossed $10 billion annually, and it is still climbing. Every single dollar in that aisle depends on one belief: that you cannot build collagen without buying a product. But here's what the labels never explain. When you swallow a collagen peptide supplement, your digestive system treats it the same way it treats any other protein. It breaks the entire collagen structure apart into individual amino acids. Your body does not absorb collagen intact and deposit it into your skin like spackle filling a crack in a wall. It dismantles everything. Then it must rebuild from scratch using raw materials that may or may not be available and enzymatic signals that may or may not be firing. So the real question is not whether you are taking enough collagen. The real question is whether your body actually has the cellular signals to start production, the mineral scaffolding to reinforce the fibers, the enzymatic protection to guard what already exists, and the moisture matrix to keep it all flexible and alive. Or are you spending hundreds of dollars a year pouring expensive powder into a system that lacks the tools to use it? There are 5 plants that together deliver every mechanism the collagen life cycle requires. Not 5 supplements, not 5 powders in 5 bottles, but 5 living plants. Each one was either banned by a government agency, classified as a noxious weed, turned into a household novelty, or hidden behind a language barrier for centuries. These plants are not rare, they are not exotic. Several of them are growing within walking distance of where you are sitting right now. One of them is probably sitting in your spice rack at this very moment. You have cooked with it 1,000 times and never once considered what it could do for your skin. Another one is pushing through a crack in your driveway. You have pulled it out with your bare hands and thrown it away without a second thought. Nobody profits when you grow the answer on your windowsill. That is the only reason you have never been told about this system. The supplement industry needs you reaching for that jar month after month. A living plant that regrows itself after every harvest is the one thing their business model cannot survive. These 5 plants have been used for thousands of years across civilizations on every inhabited continent. From the wet markets of Colombo to the coastal hills of the Mediterranean, from the medieval battlefields of Europe to the royal courts of ancient Egypt, modern research has confirmed what traditional cultures knew all along. This is not folk legend. This is established science that the supplement industry has simply never had a financial reason to share with you. Over the next 30 minutes, you will learn what each plant does inside your skin, why it was banned or forgotten, how cultures around the world have used it for generations, and exactly how to grow it on your windowsill starting this weekend. At the end, you will see how all 5 fit together into one single system that costs almost nothing after the first planting. This is Secrets Beneath Nature. And we begin with a plant that medieval healers called by a name that tells you everything about its power. A plant so effective at regenerating human tissue that a federal agency banned it from your medicine cabinet. In the Middle Ages, battlefield surgeons carried a plant they called knit bone. When soldiers suffered broken bones or deep wounds, healers packed the crushed leaves directly into the injury site and watched the tissue begin to knit itself together within days. They also called it bone set. And bruisewort. Every name this plant earned pointed to the same thing. This plant regenerates human tissue. The Latin name is symphytum. It comes from the Greek word symphytis, which means growing together. For over 2,000 years, healers across Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia used this plant to treat fractures, sprains, burns, and open wounds. It was one of the most trusted remedies in traditional Western herbalism. Farmers grew it in kitchen gardens. Midwives kept dried leaves in their cabinets. Monks cultivated it in monastery gardens alongside their other medicinal herbs. Then in 2001, the United States Food and Drug Administration issued a ban. Comfrey products marketed for internal consumption were pulled from shelves across the country. The reason was a group of compounds called pyrrolizidine alkaloids. In concentrated doses over prolonged internal use, these compounds can affect the liver. The ban was not unreasonable for oral supplements, but the result was that an entire plant with 2 millennia of documented healing was swept out of public consciousness in a single regulatory action. Here is the part that should bother you. The ban targeted internal use. Topical application of Comfrey has continued legally and effectively the entire time. Comfrey creams and ointments are still sold in pharmacies across Europe and the United States today. The compounds that make Comfrey remarkable for skin are fully accessible through the surface of the skin without ever entering the digestive system. But most people never learned this distinction. They heard the word banned and walked away from one of the most powerful skin renewal plants in human history. The key compound is called allantoin. When allantoin reaches your skin cells, it accelerates the rate at which fibroblasts divide. Fibroblasts are the cells in your dermis responsible for producing collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. They are your skin's construction crew. As you age, these cells slow down. They become dormant. They stop producing collagen at the rate they did when you were younger. Allantoin wakes them up. It does not build collagen itself. It activates the cells that do. Think of it as the alarm clock for a crew that has been sleeping on the job for years. Comfrey also contains rosmarinic acid and tannins that provide mild anti-inflammatory protection and support blood flow to the skin. The combination means more active fibroblasts receiving better circulation in an environment with less inflammation. 3 mechanisms from one leaf applied to the surface of your skin. Growing Comfrey is straightforward, but there is one critical rule you must follow. This plant is for topical use only. Never consume it internally. For external application, it is one of the easiest plants to grow. It thrives in any garden soil, tolerates shade and moisture, and produces large harvestable leaves within weeks. Harvest the leaves and dry them in a warm area with good airflow. Once dried, infuse them into olive oil or coconut oil over several weeks. Strain the leaves out and you have a Comfrey infused oil ready for direct skin application. One plant provides enough leaves for an entire season of topical supply, and Comfrey is a perennial. It returns every spring without replanting. Comfrey wakes the fibroblasts. It shakes the construction crew out of dormancy and gets them moving again, but a crew that is awake without clear instructions is just a group of workers standing around waiting. They need a chemical signal, a specific compound that tells those fibroblasts to start producing collagen at accelerated rates. One plant carries that signal more powerfully than anything researchers have ever found in the natural world. In Sri Lanka, they have a name for it. They call it the herb of longevity. In the wet markets of Colombo, Sri Lanka, vendors sell bunches of small, kidney-shaped leaves with scalloped edges. Shoppers buy them by the handful and eat them raw in salads, blend them into juices, or steep them in hot water for tea. In Ayurvedic medicine, practitioners have prescribed this plant for thousands of years under the name Brahmi. Across Southeast Asia, from Indonesia to Vietnam to Thailand, it appears in traditional remedies and daily cooking. In Mandarin, they call it Ji Shui Kao. In Malay, Pagaga. In Sinhalese, Gotu Kola, which translates roughly to cup-shaped leaf. Legend says that ancient herbalists observed elephants grazing on these small, round leaves in the wild. Elephants live extraordinarily long lives. The association stuck. The plant became known as the herb of longevity. Whether the legend is precisely true matters less than what modern analysis has confirmed. This plant does something to collagen that no other herb can match. When Gotu Kola extract reaches your fibroblasts, it does not just provide raw materials the way a protein supplement might. It changes the genetic instructions your cells follow. The active compounds, a group called triterpenoids, directly stimulate your cells to increase production of type 1 collagen. Type 1 is the most abundant collagen in your skin, your tendons, and your bones. It is the collagen responsible for firmness and elasticity. Laboratory research on skin cells has shown that specific active compounds in Gotu Kola can significantly boost collagen synthesis. Not 8%, not 18%, close to 78%. That single number should stop you in your tracks. The $60 collagen powder in your bathroom gives your body amino acids it might or might not reassemble. This plant rewrites the production orders at the cellular level. But Gotu Kola does not stop there. It also inhibits the enzymes that break collagen down. Most plants either help build collagen or help protect it. Gotu Kola does both simultaneously. It accelerates construction while slowing demolition. Skin becomes measurably firmer over time. So why have most people in the Western world never heard of it? The answer is not conspiracy, it is fragmentation. Gotu Kola has a different name in every language and every country where it grows. A plant with no unified name in Western languages has no unified presence in Western databases, cookbooks, or research funding. The studies exist, but for decades, major medical databases systematically under-indexed research published in Asian languages. The knowledge was always there, it was just locked behind a language barrier that the supplement industry had no financial incentive to break down. There is nothing to patent in a leaf you can eat raw from a salad bowl. A crop that needs no processing cannot generate processing revenue. A leaf that regrows after every harvest cannot generate repeat sales. The funding followed patentable molecules. The research followed the funding. And 3 generations of Western consumers never learned the name of the most powerful collagen-stimulating plant on Earth. Growing Gotu Kola at home is simple. It is a low-growing ground cover plant that loves shade and moisture. Plant it in a pot with rich, moist soil near a window with indirect light. It spreads via runners called stolons. One starter plant becomes several within months. Harvest leaves for tea, add them fresh to salads, or blend them into smoothies. In warm climates, it grows as a perennial ground cover outdoors. Indoors, it produces year-round with minimal attention. Gotu Kola commands your fibroblasts to build new collagen fibers at rates that dwarf what supplements can achieve. But a collagen fiber is only as strong as its internal structure. Think of each fiber as a thread of rope. Without ties at regular intervals holding those threads in formation, the rope unravels into a shapeless tangle. Those ties are called cross-links, and cross-links require one specific mineral above all others: silica. Without silica, new collagen is loose string. With silica, it becomes reinforced cable. The next plant has been manufacturing more bioavailable silica than any other living thing on this planet. And it has been doing this for 300 million years. 300 million years ago, long before the first dinosaur walked the earth, vast swamp forests covered much of what is now North America and Europe. Towering above the ferns and primitive trees were giant horsetails. Some reached 30 meters in height. Those ancient forests eventually collapsed, compressed under millions of years of geological pressure, and became the coal deposits that powered the Industrial Revolution. Today, their descendants survive as humble plants, rarely more than a meter tall. 15 species remain from a lineage that once comprised hundreds. You have almost certainly seen them growing in wet ditches alongside highways, along riverbanks, at the edges of garden paths where the soil stays damp. Thin green stems with no true leaves, segmented joints that pull apart like tiny bamboo. Gardeners fear them because they spread through underground rhizomes that are nearly impossible to remove. Once horsetail establishes itself, it does not leave. What makes horsetail extraordinary is what those stems are made of. Up to 25% of the total ash content of a dried horsetail stem is silica, making it one of the richest plant sources of this mineral. No other plant on Earth approaches this concentration. Silica is not a glamorous mineral. It does not appear on the front of supplement bottles or in wellness influencer posts. But without it, collagen falls apart. Silica is the mineral that enables cross-links between collagen fibers. Cross-links are the structural ties that hold collagen in its triple helix formation. Without adequate cross-links, the fibers become loose, disorganized, and weak. Silica also improves the absorption and utilization of calcium, linking bone health directly to skin health in a cycle that depends on this one overlooked mineral. Think of it this way. Go-To Cola told your cells to build new collagen. The cells obeyed and started weaving fibers. But without silica, those fibers are soft rope. Silica transforms soft rope into steel cable. It is the rebar inside the collagen concrete. Horsetail has been used medicinally for centuries across Europe and Asia. Roman physicians documented its use for kidney and bladder conditions. In traditional European herbalism, it was prescribed for brittle nails, thinning hair, and weak bones. All of these are conditions rooted in collagen and connective tissue deficiency. Folk healers did not have the vocabulary of modern biochemistry, but they understood the outcome. The most practical approach for most people is to harvest horsetail wild or purchase dried horsetail stems for tea. Steep a tablespoon of dried stems in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes. The silica leaches directly into the liquid. 1 cup of horsetail tea delivers more bioavailable silica than any supplement capsule on the market. For indoor growing, plant it in a deep pot with consistently moist soil and partial shade. Keep it well contained because it will spread aggressively given any opportunity. Horsetail gives collagen its structural integrity, cross-linked fibers, reinforced scaffolding, proper alignment. But here is a problem that nobody in the supplement aisle warns you about. Every single day, ultraviolet light from the sun triggers a cascade of enzymes in your skin. These enzymes are called matrix metalloproteinases. Their single biological function is to dissolve collagen. You can build all the collagen you want. You can wake every fibroblast, command maximum production, and cross-link every fiber with silica. But if nothing stops those enzymes, you are filling a bathtub with the drain wide open. The next plant stops the drain, and you probably have it sitting in your kitchen right now. You have a jar of this in your spice rack at this very moment. You have cooked with it 1,000 times. You have rubbed a sprig between your fingers and breathed in that sharp, woody, unmistakable scent. You have seasoned roasted potatoes with it, tucked it under the skin of a whole chicken, stirred it into olive oil for dipping bread. And in all those years, through all those meals, you never once considered what this plant might do for your skin. That changes now. This is not a story about a rare herb from the other side of the world. This is rosemary. It is sitting in your kitchen. It has been there for years, and it contains compounds that directly block the enzymes destroying your collagen every time you step into sunlight. Walk through the coastal hills of the Mediterranean on any afternoon. Southern France, the Greek islands, the rocky slopes of Croatia. Rosemary grows wild across all of them. The air smells of it. Entire hillsides are blanketed in low, woody bushes with narrow leaves and pale blue flowers. For centuries, people in these regions have cooked with rosemary daily, brewed it into tea, infused it into oils, and rubbed it directly onto their skin. Researchers studying Mediterranean populations have consistently noted the remarkable skin quality of people in these communities, even among those who spent decades working in direct sunlight on farms and fishing boats. The science explains why. Rosemary contains a compound called carnosic acid. When ultraviolet radiation from the sun reaches your skin, it triggers oxidative stress, and that activates the collagen-dissolving enzymes. This is the primary mechanism behind photoaging. The fine lines, the loss of firmness, the gradual loosening of skin that accumulates over years of sun exposure. Carnosic acid interrupts this entire chain reaction. It prevents those enzymes from activating in the first place. It does not just absorb some of the ultraviolet damage the way a sunscreen might, it blocks the specific downstream signal that triggers collagen destruction. Carnosic acid is also one of the most potent free radical scavengers found in any plant. It outperforms vitamin E in stability tests. And unlike certain citrus oils that increase sun sensitivity, rosemary is not phototoxic. It is safe to use in morning skincare without worrying about making your skin more vulnerable. Here is the part that should make you pause. The most expensive anti-aging serums on the market contain synthetic MMP inhibitors. These are the cutting-edge ingredients that luxury skincare brands charge $200 a jar for. Rosemary contains a natural MMP inhibitor that has been growing on Mediterranean hillsides for millennia. It has been in your spice rack for years. You bought it for $3. Growing rosemary is one of the simplest things you will ever do. It needs direct sunlight and well-draining soil. It actually prefers to be neglected. Overwatering is the only common way to kill it. A single rosemary plant lives for years and grows into a woody, bushy, small shrub that keeps producing indefinitely. Harvest sprigs whenever you need them. Steep fresh rosemary in hot water for tea. Infuse sprigs in olive oil for several weeks to create a topical rosemary oil. Add it to every meal you cook because the active compounds survive heat. One plant from a garden center or grocery store costs a few dollars. It never needs replacing. You have been buying this plant to flavor your food. You have been tossing the leftover sprigs into the trash after dinner. The whole time, those discarded stems contained one of the most effective collagen-protecting compounds ever identified in the natural world. The answers were never hidden on the other side of the world. Some of them were sitting in your kitchen drawer the entire time. Rosemary guards collagen from the outside, from ultraviolet radiation, from free radicals, from the environmental assault your skin absorbs every single day. But there is one threat that rosemary cannot stop. Collagen does not only break down from external attack, it dries out. When the moisture matrix surrounding collagen fibers evaporates, the fibers become brittle and crack from within. Like leather left out in the sun for years, you can build the strongest, most cross-linked, most enzyme-protected collagen in the world, and it will still degrade if there is no moisture holding it together. The last plant in this system does something none of the others can do. It doubles collagen production while simultaneously flooding the spaces between fibers with hyaluronic acid. The ancient Egyptians carved images of this plant into stone 5,000 years ago, and you almost certainly have one sitting on your windowsill already. 5,000 years ago, physicians in ancient Egypt documented a plant with thick, fleshy leaves filled with clear gel. They carved its image into temple walls. They included it in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest surviving medical texts in human history. Egyptian queens reportedly applied the gel to their skin as part of daily ritual. They called it the plant of immortality. From Egypt, knowledge of this plant traveled across the ancient world. Greek physicians prescribed it for skin conditions and wound healing. Indian Ayurvedic practitioners used it for burns and inflammation. Spanish explorers carried it across the Atlantic to the Americas. Arabic traders transported it along spice routes from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. For 50 centuries, every major civilization that encountered this plant recognized what it does for human skin. It was never lost. It was never banned. It was never suppressed. Instead, the modern world did something almost worse. It trivialized the whole thing. It reduced 5,000 years of documented healing into a green squeeze bottle sold in the sunburn aisle of a drugstore for $4. Most people think of aloe vera as something you slap on after a bad day at the beach, a soothing afterthought. That is a fraction of what this plant actually does. Research has demonstrated that plant sterols derived from aloe vera gel increase collagen production by approximately twofold in human skin fibroblasts. At the same time, those same sterols increase hyaluronic acid production by roughly 1.5 times. Hyaluronic acid is the molecule that holds up to 1,000 times its own weight in water. It is the moisture matrix that surrounds every collagen fiber in your skin. Without it, collagen dries out, becomes brittle, and fractures from within. Think about what that means in the context of everything you have just learned. Comfrey woke the fibroblasts. Cola commanded them to build collagen, producing close to a 78% increase in capacity. Horsetail provided the silica cross links to reinforce every fiber. Rosemary blocked the enzymes that ultraviolet light uses to tear those fibers apart. And now aloe doubles collagen production through a completely different pathway, while simultaneously flooding the surrounding tissue with the moisture that keeps it all flexible and alive. Every other plant in this system builds or protects collagen fibers. Aloe does both at once. And then it adds a third function that none of the others provide. It hydrates the space between the fibers themselves. Collagen without moisture is dry leather. Aloe prevents that. Small-scale clinical studies have shown that participants who consumed specific isolated aloe sterile supplements daily showed measurable improvements in skin moisture and elasticity over 12 weeks. Facial wrinkles decreased significantly in women over 40. These are not theoretical laboratory findings. These are clinical outcomes in living people using a plant that costs almost nothing to grow. Growing aloe vera is nearly effortless. It is one of the most forgiving houseplants on Earth. Bright indirect light, sandy or well-draining soil, water once every 2 to 3 weeks. Overwatering is the only real danger. The plant stores moisture in its thick leaves and thrives on neglect. The plant produces pups. These are baby plants that emerge from the base of the mother plant throughout the growing season. One aloe becomes 5 within a year, 5 become 20 the year after. You will run out of windowsill space before you run out of aloe. To harvest, cut an outer leaf close to the base, split it open lengthwise, scoop out the clear gel, apply it directly to your skin or blend it into smoothies for internal benefit. One leaf provides enough gel for several applications, and the plant keeps producing new leaves continuously. After the first plant, you never need to buy another one. It replicates itself indefinitely. Now step back and see what you have built. Not 5 random plants sitting in a row, a system. 5 mechanisms that cover the complete collagen life cycle from activation to construction to reinforcement to protection to hydration. Nothing is missing. Nothing overlaps without purpose. Each plant fills the exact gap that the previous one left open. Comfrey activates dormant fibroblasts with allantoin, waking the cells that produce collagen. Cola commands those awakened cells to build type 1 collagen at dramatically accelerated rates. Horsetail provides the silica that cross-links and reinforces every new fiber into structurally sound tissue. Rosemary blocks the UV-triggered enzymes that would tear those fibers apart from the outside. Aloe doubles collagen production through a separate pathway while flooding the surrounding tissue with hyaluronic acid to keep everything hydrated and flexible. 5 mechanisms, 1 complete cycle. No supplement bottle in existence covers all 5. You do not need a farm, you do not need a yard, you need 3 pots and a windowsill. 1 pot at the sunny end holds rosemary, woody, and compact. Next to it, aloe sits in bright indirect light, thick leaves ready for harvest. At the shadier end, Cola spreads its small round leaves across moist soil. Comfrey oil infused from leaves you harvested and dried from a garden pot or an outdoor patch sits in a small bottle on the counter. A jar of dried horsetail stems waits beside the kettle for your morning tea. 3 pots, 2 prepared ingredients, 1 windowsill, every mechanism covered. Now think about the cost. A monthly supply of premium collagen peptides runs anywhere from $50 to $100. Add a quality antioxidant serum and a hyaluronic acid product, and you are easily spending $100 to $150 every single month. Over a year, that reaches $1,200 to $1,800. Over 5 years, you are looking at $6,000 to $9,000 poured into products your body may not even use effectively. A starter rosemary plant costs $3 to $5. An aloe plant costs the same. A go-to cola starter runs a few dollars from an online herb nursery. A packet of comfrey seeds is less than $5. Dried horsetail stems for months of tea cost under $10. Total startup for the entire system is less than one single month of the supplements it replaces. And after the first season, the ongoing cost approaches zero. Aloe produces pups endlessly. Rosemary lives for years and keeps growing. Go-To Cola spreads by runners and fills its pot naturally. Comfrey is a perennial that returns every spring without replanting. You stop paying. The plants keep producing. The supplement industry sells you one product at a time. A powder, a capsule, a serum, a jar. These 5 plants build a system that does not require a subscription, a system that does not expire on a shelf, a system that grows back every time you harvest from it. Grandmothers in Sri Lanka brewed Go-To Cola into tea every morning, and their skin stayed supple into old age. Grandmothers in the English countryside steeped horsetail after the first spring rains and drank it for their hair and their nails and their bones. Grandmothers across the Mediterranean coast crushed rosemary into oil and rubbed it into their skin before bed. Egyptian queens applied aloe gel as part of their daily ritual 5,000 years ago. Medieval healers packed comfrey poultices onto wounded soldiers and watched the tissue regenerate within days. These plants are not new discoveries. They are old knowledge that the modern economy forgot. Because nobody could figure out how to charge a monthly subscription fee for a leaf that grows back on its own. You have that knowledge now. The plants do not care about your zip code. They do not care about your income or your age or your skin type. They care about soil and water and light. Give them a windowsill and they will give you what no supplement company on earth can sell you. A system that rebuilds itself, protects itself, hydrates itself, and costs nothing forever. 5 plants, 1 windowsill, thousands of years of proof. And the only reason you are hearing about this now is that nobody makes money when you grow the answer yourself. And don't forget, if you want to grow what the healthiest people on the planet are growing and start living like them, the Centenarian's Garden has got you covered. Go show them some love.